It's all Ubisoft. So, ladies and gentlemen, Ubisoft is getting felted. It's bad. It's bad. You know, this company that convinced a lot of shills online that they were doing so well. This company that tries to convince everybody through totally legitimate numbers and totally legitimate sourcing of the numbers that they were massively successful with some of their franchises, right? Assassin's Creed Shadows was like the number one selling best game ever, if you were to believe what they would say. Or at the very least, number two. Right? But still, that's what they would have you believe. Well, we've been saying for over a year now, probably almost 2 years now at this point, that Ubisoft isn't doing well. We've been saying it for a long time. And now it seems like we are seeing the fruits of that labor, or lack thereof, I should say, because Prince of Persia, the Sands of Time remake, is canceled as Ubisoft announces major internal restructuring and more layoff and studio closures are on the way. Now, keep in mind, guys, the amount of people that have been laid off already is insane. The amount of people that have lost their jobs is insane. And it's sad because these people should have never lost their jobs had they all done what they were supposed to do. But unfortunately, it looks like they didn't get to do that. If you remember the Prince of Persia remake, it kind of sent ripples all throughout the gaming world, even if it was temporary, where we saw what happened to the prince. And I mean, I could just show you, just as a reminder, Prince of Persia remake. It basically became Bollywood in a way. It was fucking awful. Let me bring up this picture here that perhaps will allow me to show it a little bit better. This is like a comparison photo. Here we go. So here's a comparison photo in case you guys forgot what they did to the characters. I mean, wow, you know? So here's what they tried to say, right? They tried to say that apparently the pictures on the right are placeholder models, right? That they were placeholder models that were not going to be used in the final game, and that they were about a year old at the time that they were leaked, or whatever the case may be. Okay. So if you believe that, fine. You're more than welcome to. That's perfectly fine. I didn't believe it at the time, but that's what they were saying. They were saying that this was placeholders and that they've already worked on changes that they can't show us yet, but they look forward to showing us earlier this year and all that stuff. Now, none of that has happened. Now the game has been canceled. And the reason why they're canceling it makes me believe, personally, in my opinion, that the reason why they're canceling it is because, quite frankly, there's no way that they can turn ship, right? I feel like this was their ship. I feel like they were absolutely going to do what we all thought they were going to do. I mean, it is Ubisoft at the end of the day. And due to the backlash from the leaks, I think that they were going to try to turn ship, but they just didn't have the funds or the abilities to do so. So it says the following. This is on their official account over on X. Prince of Persia, the Sands of Time remake. To the Prince of Persia community, we want to share this with you directly. We've made the difficult decision to stop development on Prince of Persia, the Sands of Time remake. We know this is deeply disappointing. The game carries enormous meaning for fans and for the teams that worked on it. While the project had real potential, we weren't able to reach the level of quality that you deserve. And continuing would have required more time and investment that we could responsibly commit. And we didn't want to release something that fell short of what the Sands of Time represents. Prince of Persia as a universe and as a legacy continues to matter deeply to us. And the decision does not mean we're stepping away from the franchise. Thank you for your passion, patience, and love from Prince of Persia. So again, we weren't able to reach the level of quality. I find this to be hilarious considering this is Ubisoft. These are the same people that just released Star Wars Outlaws, one of the buggiest game releases for months, that they essentially had to do so many massive changes to. They even had to basically remove stealth from the game, like compared to how it was before. I think that they knew that this game was fucked. I really do. I think Prince of Persia should be sold off. I really do. Sell off Prince of Persia, the franchise. Let somebody else who's better take reins of it and let them make some fucking money from Prince of Persia, for God's sakes. They also said that this would take more time and more investment than we could responsibly commit, which tells me, tells you, and tells everybody else they're fucking broke. They're absolutely broke. They have their money is on the thin end side of things. And so all the shows out there who are like, oh, Ubisoft, they're fine. They're fine. Look at their quarterly earnings. Look at what the CEO said about the state of the company. He said Shadows was a success. He said Outlaws sold slightly less than he expected, but was still considered a success. It's all good. Everything's fine. No, it's not. And keep in mind, they're broke even after Tencent invested in them as a company. Gave them over $1 billion with a B. Billion with a B. Right? Of course, the CEO is going to say everything's fine. Yeah, I know that. But the thing is, like, again, the shills, they'll say, oh, but, Guillemot said that, so that means it's true. Eve said that, so that means it's true. No, it's not. It's not true at all. Sometimes I wish people would look at more with what they see with their eyes versus what they see with their ears. Does that make sense? Where sometimes your eyes are not lying to you, right? Sometimes when you look at something and you think it looks like something because it gives you all of the red flags that you've seen before, then perhaps you should probably look at it with an obvious, like, okay, something's clearly wrong here, instead of listening and saying, oh, whoa, the CEO says it's fine, so that means it's fine. Look at all this money. Even though they never tell you the actual sales, look at all this massive profit. Yeah, no, not at all. Did they really think Shadows would be successful genuinely? Yeah, they did. Of course they did. They still think they still say that it's the most successful game they've ever had. Damn near. That's how they act. They said it was the most successful Assassin's Creed game outside of, I believe, Valhalla. Number one game in the fucking galaxy. No, but seriously, it was like number two. It was number two in the country, they're trying to say. Billy says they're mainly French-owned. Who knew? Oh, I knew that. So, Prince of Persia is just one casualty, all right? There is way more casualties. Oh, it's bad. It's bad. Before we do any of that, though, there's a tweet from somebody called Guru Larry Bundy Jr. I have no idea who the fuck this is. This person he's a television presenter, artist, and comedian. Okay. That's fine. So he said the following about the Prince of Persia remake. He said, the entire development of the game was utter clown shoes. 7 years to port a fucking PS2 game. I'm friends with a few of ex-Ubisoft staff. They gave the entire development of the Switch version to one single guy in India, and he had to stop as he caught COVID. No way, bro.
Holy shit.
No way. That can't be true. That's got to be a joke, right? That's got to be a joke, right? That's got to be a joke, right? A lot of PS2 games have been ported to Steam, including the original of this. Why remake it at all? Because this is Ubisoft. If it's not broke, let's break it. That's exactly what their mindset is. Ubisoft does not know how to just leave things as they are. Ubisoft has to break shit. That's what they're good at. His channel's pretty good. I might check it out. I didn't know of this guy before this tweet, so I'm gonna save this so I can check out his channel later. So I think that's insane. And if what he's saying is true, then that would explain quite a bit. Now, after all of the cancellations and the closures, the biggest problem with running a company that shills for identity politics is that the people that you hire are usually extremely emotional for no good reason whatsoever. Where now Ubisoft cancellations and closures announcement has sparked major union backlash against the CEO, Eve, and the inevitable call for a strike. Perhaps he needs to be reminded that it is his employees who make the games. It says here that Ubisoft announced a major overhaul of its internal structure today, which includes numerous cancellations and delays, as well as more studio closures and layoffs. And the French game industry union, Solidarité Informatique, isn't taking it lying down. The union is calling for a half-day strike on January 22nd over what it described as a disastrous announcement. After the announcement and the announcement that has the following demands: an end to the cost reduction plan, maintenance, bro. Okay, stop. So this is why unions, they overreach so hard. You're a union. The last thing that you should be ever allowed to do or say is to tell another company that they can't reduce costs. You got to be shitting me. If you are some union thinking you could tell me that I can't reduce costs with my company, get the fuck out of here, bro. Who the fuck are you? You know? Maintenance and expansion of remote work conditions, decent pay raises for the coming year. Wait, so you want to end the cost reduction plan, and then you want to increase the costs of production? Are you serious? Are you stupid? How is that going to work? Solidarity's Informatique described this as an initial response to the absurdity of management decisions and said other strikes actions are being considered. It is out of the question to let a boss run rampant and destroy our working conditions. Perhaps he needs to be reminded that it is his employees who make the games. Yeah, definitely some commie logic there. Yeah, you guys are not wrong there. So they're officially calling for a strike following the disastrous announcement made by Mr. Yves Guillemot. Cost-cutting plan, project scrapped, and end of remote working. The Solidarity's Informatique Union is calling for a strike on Thursday, January 22nd in the morning. Oh, so they're going to be doing it tomorrow. They're going to be striking tomorrow over this shit. Now, what else are they angry at? Well, they're angry at the fact that apparently they are now demanding a full return to studio announcement. Don't call it a layoff. Ubisoft issues a full return to office order for all employees as it confirms more studio closures are on the way. So now you guys already know, man, a lot of the people who have certain ideologies, they do not like working from the office anymore. They want to work from home, so that way they could do their activism while also technically working. At least that's how it is anyway for them. So they're mad at this as well. So not only are they mad for what happened, but they're also mad at this because they don't want to return to work. They don't want to return to the office. They want to be able to work remotely for as long as they want, or under any contract that they currently have right now for working remotely. So, oh boy, this won't backfire on them. I mean, it will, because apparently he's already had to make a statement. If you scroll down, it says, stuffed away in the corner of Ubisoft's latest high-speed skit off a clip is a note to employees to support the effective implementation and operation of this new model. The group also intends to return to 5 days per week on site for all teams. Employees who have been working remotely in any capacity, in other words, will no longer have that option. It's back to conventional office time for everyone. It was going to get back to normal eventually, man. People can try to fight that all they want, but realistically, that's what's going to happen. The evolution is intended to strengthen collaboration, including constant knowledge sharing and the collective dynamic across teams. Ubisoft said, explaining the decision, in-person collaboration is a key enabler of collective efficiency, creativity, and success in a persistently more selective AAA market. In lieu of regular remote work, employees will be given an annual allowance of working from home days. Damn, annual allowance of working from home is crazy. It seems like a small thing amidst just another Ubisoft catastrophe, but the reason to this announcement is strongly negative, and rightfully so. Remote work, by and large, works, and after years of doing so effectively and adjusting their lives accordingly, being ordered back to the office on a full-time basis is incredibly disruptive for employees suddenly finding themselves faced with a need to find childcare, pay community costs, and absorb other related expenses. I mean, yes, that is true. That is absolutely true. But surely we must all have known that this was not going to last forever. Surely we must have known that the remote it's just not going to last forever. It's impossible, man. They got to get you back in the office. Otherwise, why are they paying for office space? If you guys are all remote, they might as well just sell their office space, but they don't want to do that. They're not going to do that. LOL, welcome to reality. Exactly, bro. You know how many people went back to work physically after their jobs demanded they do that? It was like 3 months after everything settled down, people started opening up again. You know, all these companies, they were first getting lawsuit threats by the government. They were like, yep, no, we're going to stay open. If you sue us, you sue us. If you find us, you find us. Remember that one restaurant that I think was in, I forgot where exactly, now that I think about it. Shit, I don't remember. I don't remember where the restaurant was. I don't think it was in a major city. It was in like a rural city. But anyway, there was a restaurant that refused to close down and they got like $10,000 fine a day. They got $10,000 fines a day, and then they finally got away from that because they ended up suing and they ended up winning, and they didn't have to pay shit. They didn't have to pay a fucking thing. Too bad everyone else has to do this. Also, everyone is replaceable. That's true too. I wonder if these people are unionized because remember, in other Ubisoft, what do you call it? In other Ubisoft studios, they were unionized and they still got closed down anyway. So that didn't really change anything. They're currently, potentially about to get sued for that, but still, it didn't change a single thing. So, but listen, it is pretty bad over at Ubisoft. The amount of cancellations is staggering. And the funny thing is, after all of these cancellations, after all these firings, Ubisoft has openly admitted that they're struggling to get games out the door, and it's going to be investing even more money into generative AI. So Ubisoft, think about what they're doing, closing down a bunch of studios, firing a bunch of people, unable to get the games out there. When they do, they're buggy trash most of the time. Now, apparently, they're getting more and more into generative AI. It seems as if they want to put that into their focus so that they can fire more people, fire the activists, fire whoever they want to fire, and then they can utilize generative AI to try to make their game cheaper and faster. I think that's a terrible idea, but, this is where we're at when it comes to AI. Teneber says a gut feeling says AI will be many companies' downfall. I agree. And I've always said that we are in the rat race right now. We are in the gold rush of AI. So what's going to happen is that you're going to have major companies that are all going to be investing insane amount of money into AI. The companies that don't do well, that cannot pay their debt, they're going to end up having to get absorbed by a bigger company that did pay well and did clear their debt, or at least mostly clear their debt. Oman Kaz says this is all a plan by the owners. They move over to the new Tencent studio that the old company crashed, so they don't have to pay investors what they owed. Yeah, I mean it's pretty obvious Tencent wants to buy this for super cheap. There's probably a lot of insider trading or conversations happening with that. But I don't know, man. I think at this point Ubisoft is in a really bad spot, and the amount of cancellations is staggering. Honestly, super staggering. I think I have. Let me see. Hold on. I might have the list. Where is it at? Let me see. Where is the list? Ubisoft layoffs. So according to Jeff Keighley, this is how bad it is, okay? According to Jeff Keighley, Ubisoft has canceled 6 video games. 6 video games. And delayed 7 other video games to ensure quality. So the most successful company in the world last year, according to the shills, had to delay 7 games and cancel 6 of them. That's crazy, right? That's crazy in my opinion. And that's not even the end of it. The company is going to announce even more layoffs on February 12th. So that's not the end of it either. Ubisoft has clarified they have not yet set a date to announce future layoffs or restructure. Okay, so there's that. So, wow, that's pretty grim. Yeah, no, that's very grim. I think, Miss Bella, I think we are at the point where Ubisoft, and I said this last year, I was like, this could happen next year, or it could happen the year after. I'm not sure, but it's going to happen soon. I think we are at the fall of Ubisoft. I really do. They may not want to admit it, but I think they are trying, based off everything they're getting rid of and all the cost cutting they're doing. I think they're trying to make their books as attractive as possible for the eventual Tencent buyout that we all know is on the way. All of us know it's on the way. We all know Tencent is going to run up in there and they're going to be like, we buy you now. We buy you now cheap. Cheap. What's best price? Give me best price and I'll buy you now. Bitch. They're going to be doing that. They're absolutely going to be doing that. And it's crazy because all the shows were like, no, the $1 billion from Tencent, that's going to help Ubisoft. Look how good they're doing right now. They're doing so good. And then Tencent's like, oh, you stupid American. If only you knew. Just wait. I fuck Ubisoft. I fuck them hard. Oh man, it's just it is what it is, bro. Like it's so obvious that that's exactly what's gonna happen. And I feel like we all knew that. Anybody with a brain knows that. So I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna happen this year because I think Ubisoft's such a massive company that they got so much cleaning up they have to do. So I don't really think it's gonna happen like right now. But it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Dragon says, "Bro, it's France." I'm not talking about. I said stupid American because it's the American shills that are out there trying to say that Ubisoft is perfectly fine because they got 1 point something billion from Tencent and they're saved. Right? They're out here like Assassin's Creed Shadows is the #1 best-selling game in all of human history. That's how they're acting. So that's why when I say stupid American, that's what I'm referencing. You know. So I don't know, man. At this point, again, we'll continue to follow up with it. We'll continue to check it out. But this shit is rough. Ubisoft is in a very rough spot.